So, no, I don't want to get this like as super like serious and official, but
it's cool.
relax.
We can be as casual as you like.
So, I think the topic for today. I mean, there's really a topic, but I don't want to get this, to be a really focused thing. But I kind of have this general, just to bring up a general sense of what the topics are about. I think it's identity in art, self-expression of artists and their voices.
Okay.
And my how I perceive this project to be is to tell the stories of how artists perceive their identity, career, and life in the industry of arts, and in the forms of personal interviews, and in the interviews will share their life experiences, and also their values and anything that we can talk about.
Okay.
So, all right. First of all, this. I know this is a boring question, but tell us about yourself and who are you or what do you do?
Who are you? That's always interesting. You never know who you are, right? We're constantly evolving, developing that type of thing. Who are we anyway? If I had to answer it right now in the moment, oh, I don't know. I'm here right now with you. You know, who I am right now. I am happy. I'm I'm in deep thought. I am relaxed. I'm calm. That's who I am right now. I might be somebody else a little bit later in the day. So that's who I am right now.
And can you just tell us a bit about what do you do as a professional in the art industry?
What do I do as a professional in the art industry? I want to say, what don't I do? But there are some things that I do. Don't do that. But try it. You should try everything. What I do, though, I predominantly did dance. I just had a very, very recent full transition to DJing, actually. So at this moment, I DJ.
I think when we were talking about this earlier yesterday, you mentioned that you didn't start a professional life as an artist from an early age. You started dancing around like tell me if I'm wrong, but 17 or about like 17 or 19.
That's right. Yeah.
So what can you just tell us a little bit about how you came to the decision of being a dancer, being a choreographer, and to work as an artist? How'd you come up with that like transition or decision to work as an artist?
I understand. How did I discover? Right. My senior year in high school, I did my high school talent show. Well, first, let me rewind a bit. I'm a highly trained martial artist, so that was my real foundation. That was my real foundation, mentally and physically. Um, I started martial arts. The name of the martial art that I do is called Tong Sudo. It's Chuck. It's not Chuck Norris, the gentleman that does it, that made it famous. His name is Chuck Norris, um, but he didn't create the martial art. It's a Korean style, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I did that from age 11 to 16, and I unexpectedly graduated. Was getting ready to graduate high school, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, I got to make this transition really quick." So I did my high school talent show back in 2003, and right, like maybe a month and a half before I graduated, I was like, whoa, I gotta, I gotta find out what this thing is about because it was my first time being with the talent show. It was my first time being on an elevated stage and an audience sitting in front of me. And I was really shy in school. I had never taken a formal dance class, um, anything like that. I'd only dance very leisurely. So just at the school dances or parties, I had no idea I had talent because where I'm from, everybody danced. Maybe I had a little bit more talent, but it wasn't highlighted. It was just, oh, cool, you might have more talent, but everybody danced. It wasn't a spiteful thing from others. It was just, excuse me, it was just a normal thing, for everybody to dance. But anyway, after I did that talent show, the girls were screaming so loud, and I said I like that. So I wanted to find out what that reaction was about. Like wow, you can express yourself like this through this medium of movement, and people react that way. That means you inspire people. And I was like, I have to go find out what this is about. So I transitioned from focusing on being a judge because that's what I was going to go to college to study law and then become a judge in the courts, or a Secret Service agent was going to be my second, like for the president of the country. That was going to be my second option. But I discovered dance and I said, I gotta go find this, I gotta go find out about it. And I started studying right when I graduated high school at 16. Then later in that year, I turned 17, and that's when I started.
Um, and that's very interesting. I love that response. And um, other than the very first experience of playing on stage and like being able to experience audience reaction, um, are there any? I think you mentioned Michael Jackson, who's very famous. Um, are there any artistic influences that like made you discover your love of arts? Like, um, who or what are your biggest artistic influences?
Well, you won't know this person probably, but my college dance professor, Cynthia Kupak, she's the person that's responsible for everything that I understand about being an artist and a dancer. But so far as on a more popular scale, it's absolutely Michael. I mean, the top influence for me. Um, it's fascinating how you can dedicate yourself to something like that and make people feel you in that capacity like you did. Um, I aspire, even right now, being a developed artist, I still aspire to make people feel like that, like he did. That's something special. You gotta be coming from your soul, from whatever the absolute depth of it is, to make people feel that way, and have that kind of influence. So it's for me, it's absolutely Michael, hands down.
Uh, all right, and I think we'll have to talk a little bit about the pieces or artworks that you like dances or whatever that you did. Can you share one piece of your work or any kinds of work that you did in the past that most expresses yourself and why?
Wow,
It can be a dance program, it can be a shooting, or it can be you have your own dance company, right? It can be establishing a dance company, everything.
mm, wow, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't know, Coco. Um, hmm. I would say it was speaking of Michael Jackson. I think it was my Michael Jackson. So I created a Michael Jackson medley performance, and I think it's that piece of work that I created that was probably the most proud for me. So my most proud artistic moment, right? Um, I would say it was my Michael Jackson medley performance that I came up with, choreographed for my company. So it's just a string of different Michael Jackson edits into one performance. I think it's like a 15, 20 minute piece. So that's my favorite. That's my probably my most proudest one piece of work. It's it's not just dance. It's actually theatrical compared to like just straight choreography. So we have some acting in it. No voice, but it's some actual acting in it, which is kind of adds a different dynamic to just doing movement. You know, that was really exciting. We put like a smoke machine, so it's like production in it. Costume changes within it, back and forth. It's really exciting. It
Is there
is.
also
Yeah.
a storyline there? Like a story?
No, I mean it's just Michael. Yeah. I know sometimes, you do I understand why you asked that because I said theatrical. But no, it's not a storyline, it's just Michael,
Wait, oh, by the way, there's a Michael Jackson musical like on
right now.
now.
Right now.
Have you had a chance to watch it?
Unfortunately no, because of the COVID guidelines. So
But you can, I'm not sure they have like videos on. I don't think they have the videos on YouTube.
well
You can
something
search it up. It's amazing.
Oh,
They did.
I know. I looked it up, and very interestingly, before I came here to New York, it just popped up on my Facebook feed before I even was talking about coming here, and I was like, man, I gotta go see that. And then a few weeks later, I'm sitting here right now in the city, but I think it wasn't meant for me to see it at this point in time. So, but all my fans and like people that follow me and my friends, like, if you're in New York, you gotta go see Michael Jackson. Performance on Broadway, and I'm like, I already know about it. So,
And they also did like they did a stage performance on, I think it's a Tony Awards. Yeah, it's a Tony Awards, and I was like, this is the leading actor who's playing Michael Jackson's. His dance is just so good. Like,
wow,
yeah, and he looked exactly the same as Michael Jackson.
wow,
In the shows, I was like, I gotta see the musical.
oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I want to see it so bad, but I'm trying not to think about it. I think I'll just bust through the Broadway doors. Let me in. Just jump on the stage.
I appreciate that response. Let's see. I think something else that I really want to bring up is so you have your own kind of started your own dance company,
Performing arts company.
performing arts company to be specific. Do you have what would you say about the being an artist? What would you say about the certain duties and responsibilities that the artists need to convey and carry in their artwork and what they do in art? Because what artists do can have an influence on their audience, and I think that's what artists are intended to do. Like, they want their work to have an influence on the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I think being the starter of the company and also being an independent artist, what would you say about the certain duties and responsibilities, if there is any?
So, because I'm the artistic director of the company, I get the opportunity to push what my objective is, which is why I started the company. But each individual artist is totally up to them what their purpose is. For me, it's a selfish and a selfless. It has to be simultaneous. I think it has to be serving both. Because if I don't fill my purpose up, if I don't fill myself up with my purpose, then I can't give you my full whatever my message is. because I'm not full. But at the same time, if I am full, then I can share with you, and then I can fill you up too. So the first part of the question is, it depends on the, and like for example, my performing artists, like the people, the individuals that come and dance for my company, in their minds, what whatever their purpose is for dancing when we're actually on the stage performing, it's it's up to them. But I know for me, as an individual and an artistic director, I know that it's very important that the audience understands and they feel that we've worked hard, and they can feel the hard work through the energy that we're projecting on stage. They can feel it through the passion of through our movements. Like wow, like these, they're really dancing, like they're really performing, and you can feel it from their soul. So the duty, what you asked for, what I believe as an artist is to give the audience the, this is a cliche answer, to give the audience the best that you have. That's the purpose. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. That's why the real work is done in the studio. Don't leave any surprises for the stage. Do all the surprises in the rehearsal space. Then you're gonna have to challenge yourself to go to another level of surprise because you don't have anything else to give. You need to give everything and establish. That's how Michael did his rehearsals. He knew he was so well rehearsed that he knew moments that he was going to have with his audience. He could feel it because he rehearsed so much, you know. So my short answer to what the duty of an artist is to give everything that you have. They call it leaving it on the stage, you know. Leave everything on the stage, every emotion, every ounce of energy. Leave it there because you're there. What are you there for? What are the audience coming for? You're there for the audience at that very particular moment and time in the world. You need to give, your duty is to give them everything you have. You need to be exhausted when you finish performing, emotionally and mentally.
I think, yeah, I think that's the kind of response that I'm looking for. Like, being an artist means that you're devoting yourself, you're devoting your every moment on the stage to.
It's the most beautiful gift you can give.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a privilege.
Right.
I think that our next question, not really a question, but our next prompt would be, what do you think that the pandemic has changed the ways that artists connect with their audience? For example, like people, I know a lot of artists who start to run their like live stream classes, and I think that, and also just to make a connection with like social media. I think you use social media, but do you think that social media plays a role in your life as an artist? Do you connect your audience via social media or like online platforms?
So in this particular era of time, you have to, you know, there is a barrier that's there. There's always a barrier there if you're not in front of people, actually in front of them. You know, the medium of video. You know, it's a barrier there. So of course it's going to affect the full connection you can have. But so far as social media being important or me using it, I think you have to adjust. Otherwise, you'll get left behind because everything's moving so fast. You know, so yeah, and a lot of people object to social media, but I think it's just the way you balance it. It's beautiful for me. I can connect with people all over the world instantly. You know, I think it's just about your balance. A lot of people also bring up the point of the negativity that's portrayed through social media. Don't look at it. You know, if it's something that you think is negative, just pass it up. You know, You kind of get to dictate what you fill your social media up with, the friends that you accept on your social media or not, or if it's something that is not in that dynamic. Like for example, if it's the news or if it's on YouTube, you don't have to be on it. You know, like don't look at it. It's pretty simple for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think you also talked about, do you think that social media has amplified the fact that that there's like this dilemma of, well, everything in the world is like beautiful and positive and great and everything's like perfect, because whatever you see on social media is like people are showing their best moments and best aspects in life on social media, but instead of just being their true selves on social media. So I think my question is, do you think social media has amplified this aspect?
You couldn't have used a better word, amplified. I don't know where to start with this answer. It's amazing what a video camera will make you do to adjust yourself and not be who you are. Because it's, once again, going back to although it's not a barrier, it's an opportunity to edit yourself, you know? It's real interesting because you're only showing, most of the times you're only showing a few seconds of yourself, and all these other minutes and hours that your life is filled up with, like what you were saying, you're absolutely different. That's a really interesting. I want to go so deep into this. I got permission, Lily? Whew, thank you. I got permission to go deep.
She is the generation which is different from us.
Of course.
So
Yeah, of course.
we need a different perspective, your perspective, real perspective, be true.
Well, it's interesting you said about generations, because both generations need to listen to each other and adjust. You know, like I do have some objections to it, and some of them I don't. You know, but I'll say this. This is I have a personal connection to this dynamic, because I have I'll just say a person that's really close to me, so I won't put them on the spot because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I have a person that's very, very close to me that does this, and they're an influencer. That's what they say. And the way that this person projects themselves on their content compared to how they are in real life could not be more parallel. And it's just for entertainment, you know? So it's kind of like a sacrifice of your own self. I wish I had more time to think about this dynamic.
Do you think it's a positive thing, or is it negative?
It's definitely negative, because it confuses who you really are. Like, you know who you really are? Like, wow, like if people, it's brand damaging, because when people meet you in reality, they're gonna be like, that doesn't match what, you know, you're constantly having to adjust. Like, for example, with me, this is how I am all the time. That's so hard to do. One person that I admire that says that on his interviews is the rapper, entrepreneur, mogul, Jay-Z. He happens to be here from New York. Yeah, you know Jay-Z, right, Lillian? You know, he says he never adjusts the way he speaks when he walks in a different room or a boardroom. Because this guy's having meetings with deals that are being discussed for $100 million. So this is because he's in the billionaire rat, you know? So he's in boardrooms with people that are talking about $100 million deals. He doesn't do this all of a sudden when he walks in. He is who he is, you know? You're gonna get the same authentic person. That's how I think it's pretty hard to fake your way up to $1 billion. Like, usually you get exposed eventually, you know? Or it's just a lot of internal work to constantly having to adjust yourself because you're extremely busy. You're always changing atmospheres when you're in that kind of space. I'd rather just not have to think about who I am. Oh, I'm sorry, who I need to be. You don't need to think about who you need to be. Just be who you are. The people that are not going to accept you aren't going to accept you, and the ones that are, they will. You'll find your tribe. Why would you want people in your life that you shouldn't have to be convincing people to like you or accept you? Why would you want people in your life that don't like you? That's insane.
Yeah, that's very.
That's like saying I don't, believe in the devil. That's like saying, devil, please like me. Why? You find your tribe. At the same time, though, don't forget that doesn't mean you don't have to love them. Don't let people like that taint you. Always you can just love from afar. You have to forgive them. You have to forgive them and keep operating higher.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting that you talk about how being a true self and surround people who like the real version of you is so important. So so my next question is, I know you've been living and working in China for a while. Also, you've been there multiple times.
11 years, 13 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
That's
I was
that's a lot of. You spend a lot of time there.
A lot of time. I was visiting I know you're getting your question, but I gotta share this story
Of
because
course.
it's fascinating, right? So I was in the state of Oregon, which is on the northwest coast, and of course, over on the other side of the pond, the ocean, is Japan, Korea, China. So, I'm on the coast, and I think the name of the little town I was in is Florence, Oregon. I think I forget exactly, but it was a beautiful day. This was 2020, I think, of like November, December, and that's a really shaky time for the weather in this region of the United States in Oregon. Usually it's wet and rainy, but I was there 4 full days, and I got an opportunity to have 2 of those days beautiful, gorgeous, cloudless skies. So it was like perfect to go to the coast and see the ocean. So I'm just standing there, just taking it all in. And I had a moment, and I said, you know what? I've been across this ocean 26 times, and it was full circle for me. And I said, wow, like how many people can say that? That was a moment. That was a moment. Anyway, it's interesting that you were talking about, how many times I've been and stuff. Yeah. So I've been traveling to China 11 years, and I've been a total of 13 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So far, I always go back.
Totally.
Yeah. I need to correct that. So,
I love how people. I love the kind of dedication that you have. Like, I know people who have been traveling back and forth between the 2 countries for several times, but I've met very few people who are so decisive, so determined, determined about the fact that there are gonna be opportunities, chances that they are gonna go back to China in the future. So I love that determination.
I love China very much.
Wow. So okay, speaking of that, can you talk,
transition.
that's a okay. It's a good transition. Can you talk a bit about your experience of living and working there? I know it's there must be. I tell me if I'm wrong, but I think there is this huge dynamic when you go to a new working environment. Also, it's just there's so many differences between the 2 countries, like values they share, but we don't have to talk about like anything about politics or
It's fine. We're in America. We can talk about it. Yeah. Although I don't like it actually. So.
Just
Yeah.
like culturally, do you think there's anything that made you feel excited about or mind opening when you first went and just anything that you found special?
So it's really tough for me to pinpoint special things according to locations because everywhere is special for me. Every person is special for me. You know, I still remember when the very first trip back in 2010 of June 25th is when I arrived, 2010, in China for the first time. And I said, when these airplane wheels touch this ground, and I look out on the tarmac, and all I see is Chinese people, I'm here. You know, I'll never forget that moment. And I saw these, if I'm not mistaken, in Shanghai at least, at Pudong Airport, they the tarmac workers they wear orange. I think it's orange jumpsuits they have on, if I'm not mistaken. And I said, okay, I think I'm in China for real, And that's when I knew that I was about to experience a different way of moving, lifestyle, the way that people do things. It's really hard for me to pinpoint very particular things, especially because I got so used to being there. So I was joking with you yesterday about I forgot exactly what it was, but like I'm a Chinese Coco, that's how I know, I'm just chocolate Chinese, so. But I mean, I had so many experiences, personal, not just professionally, which were also extremely exciting, but real personal stuff, So I got accustomed to being there. I knew it was very important for me to be open-minded and just not be judgmental, because a lot of people that travel to different countries, and China can be complicated to adjust to. It could be if you're not in the space to, to be open-minded and accept the way that these people live, because that's the way you're not in your homeland. So you shouldn't expect an adjustment. Like if you don't like it, what you're gonna do? Go against how many people in China now? 1.4 billion, is it?
Yeah, 1.4.
Probably more than that. You're gonna go against that many in your individual self? Like, no, you gotta accept the way these people live. If you don't like it, you can go back to where you're comfortable. It's simple.
But you ended up liking.
No, loving.
Loving.
Loving. I love China. It's because I was open-minded. I'm open to it, I think, and Lillian was bringing up this point about the long history of China. China's very rooted in its culture. So, the Chinese are comfortable being who they are. They know who they are, although it's, it constantly fluctuates. Every culture does. So that dynamic is, something that's more solid. China culture has a more solid, understood foundation than most places, in the world. So that's a different dynamic.
Do you think that to some extent serves your inspiration for art, for creating arts, or did your experience of living there inspired you to create art, or
not necessarily that, but more about the big inspiration that I got from China is that going big. One very, very impressive thing that Chinese do is invest. They invest in what they believe in, and they do it big. Even when they built Disney in Shanghai, they insisted that they have the largest Disney castle in the world. And I got very interesting story too. Like that's an American dream, Disneyland, to go experience Disneyland. I my first Disneyland experience was in Shanghai, and that's how I learned the history of they. China insisted that they have the biggest castle in the world in Disneyland. So China is all about big. I love that idea. That resonates with me more than anything else. That's the number one thing that I think China inspired me to do. Go big and invest. Everything big. And of course, big in China is normal. It's the largest population in the world, you know? So everything is literally big. When I arrived to Shanghai, one of the first things I noticed that every building is 20 stories at the minimum. Every one. I mean, how you gonna house 27 million people? You gotta have a space. So everything's up. I was like, wow, that was something. So that's my biggest inspiration is do it big, invest big, make it big.
Uh, is there anything that you'd like to share that's about the obstacles or any challenges that you face um, of being of being an artist and also working in the industry? If there's any, if you're willing to share, of course, like if you're not open to that, it's totally fine. But I think challenges are really, I think challenges are sometimes really inspirational for artists. Um, so I think it would be really interesting to hear you share about that you have encountered in the past or anything like that.
Sometimes it's so it's complicated for me to talk about challenges because I'm used to them now. So thinking back on some, I'm like, I don't feel anything anymore because it's normal for me. And I think not normal in a toxic way or in a way of, I'm always, because you want to get out of that space. But the best thing you can have is a challenge because you're going to grow and you're going to learn. The difference is that you, I think it's about the perspective of challenge. You don't always need to be having a challenge. That's stressful, you know, but they're gonna come about, and you gotta learn how to navigate because it's a very emotional, busy business. Everybody feels something, Everybody wants to be the director. Everybody wants to be in charge. Um, so it's egos involved. Like it's a lot of that kind of thing. But personally, I know what you mean so far as like the grind of the artist and being turned down at auditions or, being broke. That's a big one. How to survive. You don't want to be, ooh, something just came to me. I had this friend. She's still a dear friend. And I remember her saying it's about the art, not about the money. Don't ever fall into that philosophy. It's about both. You need to be making your money. How you gonna survive? It's the now this is a challenge that you want to avoid. You don't want to be an artist and be struggling. Like you don't that's the toughest thing because you don't want to be in that space of it's degrading, like it feels bad. You it's it messes up your mental state to have to go and import and express yourself, put yourself in a space of expressing yourself as an artist, and then when you finish expressing yourself, you go to these conditions of struggling. That's a tough space to be in. You want to be in a space that's comfortable, so you can focus. You know, you need to be in a space of actual comfort, of stability is what I'm trying to say. Whatever your standard of stability is, some people just need simple, nice, decent living. A nice income, a nice saving, whatever that means, but not in that struggling space. It's heavy. You can feel when you're struggling. Like you don't need all that weight on you. you need it off of you, so you don't need to be pushing so much. You don't need to be struggling so much. Get that weight off of you. You know.
It's perfect that you brought this up because I think this is towards the very end of the interview. But I think like continue to the point that you were just talking about. How do you balance art and business though? How do you find that balance between art and being this stability in art, like business and art?
So I'll say this before I answer the question. Well, I am answering the question, right? But I'll answer this way first. I have a really interesting perspective about the artist and the entrepreneur, the business individual. I always am extremely thankful. I always use this example to people and say that I'm very lucky and fortunate to have the artistic side and have the business side because the artistic side makes me human, makes me dear, keeps me compassionate. But the business side keeps me firm, keeps me assertive, keeps me not weak. And a lot of people portray me as that sometimes because I'm usually in my artist suit. Um, and I need to have that business side. So I guess I'm speaking straightforward to set people straight. Sometimes you have to set people straight and let them know, like, no, we're not going to operate this way. This needs to be this way so I can present my art in a space of organization. You have to be able to do that. Otherwise, you're an artist and you just, oh, it's fine. No, it's not. It's not fine. Just it needs to be this way. I love having that balance. I didn't have it at first. I was not willing to be assertive, and it cost me. Because people will run over you if you don't have that side. That business side has nothing to do with the art. It's about making sure that everything's straight. So you can do your art the best way. You know. But the question is, how do you balance that? You balance it by humility. You balance it by being humble. Don't get caught in your ego just because you have the business side and you're willing to be assertive and straight with people. That a lot of people thinks that means ordering people around, being bossy. It has nothing to do with that. The last thing I want to do is order people around and be bossy. It's not about that. You know, you got to make sure that you're being humble in the process of being on both sides, being an artist and being a business person. A lot of people, that's something that's really dear to me, the humbleness. I'm constantly checking myself to make sure that I'm humble because as an artist and a business person, you can't get in a space of feeling like you're too high or all of us on the same ground level. And I mean that literally, like Coco, when you and I stand next to each other, we're literally on the same ground level. There's no difference. You're a human, I'm a human. You know? Um, it's very interesting. It's very I sit back, you're welcome. I sit back and watch this all of the time. I love watching people in these spaces and watch the egos or not egos and watch, wow, that person's really humble. You know? Um, that's a interesting dynamic to sit back and observe. I like that a lot. I love that. And when I do run across the individuals that have the egos, I just say, oh, they need time to grow or they need time to learn. Um, I get it. I get the ego thing. You're just trying to say, hey, I'm here. Acknowledge me, That's what that's really about. It's just, the ego thing is really about, acknowledge me. Recognize that I'm here. Like, oh, we see you. We know. I promise we know. That kind of thing. So, the short answer to how do you balance being an artist and a business person is, I would say, in the middle is humble. I think if you operate in the space of being humble, you, that's the scale. Like that's the balance right there. Um, you don't need to work on it. You don't need to worry about it because the humbleness is going to balance you.
to our very last question.
I know it's coming to the end.
Are there any
Keep chatting.
No,
We will be a while.
All right.
Yeah.
I think we have
Pretty.
we haven't done yet.
Yeah, you can just chat. Don't worry.
No, wait, I have to keep it recording. So, did you pause? Did you pause it? No. Okay. I think my very last question is, if you would like to share if you would like to share insights on this, where would you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years, or are there anything, any other things that you would like to share with younger, with students or younger people who are not as established as a working professional as like you? Are there any other things that you would like to to share to them, or something like that?
Okay. So I'll answer your last question first. Okay. And it's one of my favorites because I'm very passionate about the younger generation. All they need is guidance. I know it's very important. Guidance, guidance, guidance. I haven't come up with the answer to how to help find your passion. That's a tough one. Like for me, I didn't need to think about finding my passion. Like, man, what's my passion? It presented itself to me. Like dance presented itself to me compared to me seeking out what do I love. It was clear. It was clear. I don't know if you can seek that out or not, or some, I'm sure it's a solution. I don't know. I don't know. So I have to say something that's more concrete. I would say if it's something you think that you might have a passion for or love, start finding out everything about it. Find out everything about it as soon as you can. Read books, listen to people that are in the industry that you think you might love or have a passion for, and start as soon as you can so you can become successful as quick as you can, and you can become the fullness of whatever it is that you want to be. You can be that. For me, I am a dancer. Like that's my life. I'm an artist. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always that. Like it's just in my core. I don't have to turn it on and off. It's instant. And I'm excited about it every time. I get so lit up. Even with this interview, I was so excited about it. I don't care what level it's on. I'm excited about everything that I'm doing because I know that I'm in a space to where the person that I'm sharing this experience with is just as passionate, and we get a chance to create a relationship with each other. It's something so intimate. We'll never forget this. That's exciting. So my advice to the younger generation would be to kind of tap into what you think you might love, and then start finding out, like I said, everything you can about it, and start living that way. Start go meet people in person that can help guide you that way. Where do I see myself in 5, 10, 15 years? Being successful as hell. Extremely, like uber successful. Uh, uh, you know, 5 years. 5 years. I mean,
5 months.
insanely 5 months. Forget years, months. I love Lily. That's what I'm talking about. 5 months.
As soon as you can.
Right now. 5 minutes.
Yes.
5 minutes.
Yes.
In 5 years, I see myself with an established filmmaking content creation business. In 10 years, I see myself as a true international influence. Hundreds of millions of humans. I hope billions that I'm truly inspiring. I mean, like it's a serious connection. It's a real connection. It's a genuine connection because of something that I created and that I pour my heart into, and it's people can feel that I'm being genuine with them through the art and through the works that I'm creating. They can feel that, wow, like this guy, he's not like those influencers, like, or some influencers. The content that you see me is like exactly how I am when you meet me in real life. That kind of thing. Genuality, being genuine. That's 10 years. In 15 years, I absolutely see myself at $1 billion mark. Like, no question. No question about that. No, it's ordained that I'm at that mark. It's not even something that's a dream. Like, it's what it is. It's coming because of the path that I'm projecting myself on. It has to happen. It's it makes sense when you project yourself down a certain path. Certain things happen. Like, that's the point of projection. Like when you get on the subway and say, "Hey, I want to go to this location." You go to a certain subway and you get there. So it's just like projection. It's nothing. It's nothing surprising about individuals that become extremely successful. That's what they're projecting for. You got to project it and you got to believe it. Some people always say, "Wow, your dreams are so big." I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is normal for me. And it's not a kind of thing that's something that I need to say to pump myself up. It's the projection of, excuse me, I have hiccups. It's the projection of my life. It's the projection of my life. People are always going to project things on you that they can't feel or foresee in their lives. You got to be solid and you got to know where you are going. If you listen to other people, good luck. You got to know where you're going. And when I say listen to other people, I mean people that don't believe in themselves. People always project what they believe in themselves. Like, man, I don't think I can dream that big and make it. Let me say it to you. You can't do it either. You can't do that because I can't do it. That's why. That's their logic. That's why it's very important protecting your circle has to be tight. It has to be tight. And you gotta have people around you that believe in you 1,000%. It's no doubt around you. You don't have time for doubt to be around you because you're going somewhere that's rare. I don't even know what percentage of the world are billionaires. And by the way, for me, it's not about just becoming a billionaire so I can say I became a billionaire. I don't need that much money as an individual. What am I going to do with? You can do everything you want. So why wouldn't you invest it into humans? That's what I'm excited about. I need the power and influence so others won't distort what my vision is. When you have that kind of money, people fall in line, and you need them to fall in line because people will also distort what your vision is. And you. This is another thing. Actually, Jay-Z, if I'm not mistaken, Jay-Z taught Beyonce this. He taught her how to not let other people tell her what her artistic vision is. Only she knows. Coco, only you know what you're feeling inside. This goes back to what you were asking me about the purpose of what I think art is. Nobody else can tell me. Only I know. They can help me. They can help. That doesn't mean people can't help. But I'm the only one that fully knows. You know? So anyway, going back to the question, 5 years, like I said, with a successful or an established content creation film company, 10 years, a major influence in the world, a serious influence, genuine influence in the world to humans, and then 15 years on the track or at the point of being a billionaire.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.